back in Newquay. Like Dylan said, my name is Mina Marie. If you're used to come to HalfStack, you've probably seen me here before. I'm kind of a regular. And normally what I do is I'm a performer. I'm a live coder and a musician, overall creative, really. So normally I do performances with a software that we call Newquay. But one thing that I'm also really interested and passionate about is education. So this talk is going to be a little bit different than what we normally do. So to first start off as an introduction, if you're not familiar with what is live coding, what is Newquay, so just a brief reminder. So basically, live coding is a performance-based discipline where basically we're using code to create either visual or audio performances or both in real time. And there are many, many different live coding frameworks out there. Newquay is just one of them. So Newquay is a software that was built by Sam Aaron. It's based on the Ruby programming language. And what a lot of people don't necessarily know is that its first purpose was to be used in an educational context. So it's a very kind of approachable software. And the idea of using Ruby is that the language is simple enough for kids, young learners, to be able to learn how to code and to be able to learn how to code doing something that is fun for them, which is music. So this is what the software looks like, and you'll get the chance to see it in action very soon. So Newquay is not new. It's been around for now almost a decade. Which makes me feel a little bit old saying this, because it feels still like yesterday that it was a new thing, and we were all very excited to see the potential it could have for education. And I think that, you know, like something like, even like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, which is not so long ago, really in the live coding community, we had this big hope that it was going to be a tool that would be able to infiltrate the education system and really be part of the way that we teach young people how to code. And, you know, there are many, many different advantages to use art as an educational tool. And we all thought in the community that, you know, mixing art and tech as an educational approach would be really beneficial. But for many years, I have tried to kind of approach schools and approach more like conventional institutions to try to bring the idea of teaching live coding to children. And usually the kind of reactions that I get are something like that. And I mean, in a way that can be understandable. It's like, why teach Ruby? You know, what are the real world advantages of teaching kids how to code music? And there are many, you know, it was met with a lot of resistance. And it still kind of is. So for this reason, in the last year, I feel like the interest into using Newquay in this educational system has a little bit died down, but I still believe in the power of it. And of course, now teaching coding in school is pretty much the norm. And there are many different ways that people do it. But one of the main ways that people integrate it is, you know, gaming. This is what has taken the educational system by storm. And now a lot of the times, educators choose to teach young learners how to code by having them code games. And it's a great way, you know, it's something that's still creative, it's something that's fun. But I do believe that it's also very, very different than the kind of approach you can have with teaching code that changes and that you see a result of it in real time. So at the end of the day, teaching programming through live coding and teaching through game development are two completely different approaches, and there's value in both. Really, I believe that there is. So instead of giving you a talk that is kind of typical and kind of telling you the pros and the cons and giving you examples about, you know, how you can use SonicPy in an educational system, I asked the collaboration of my young colleague. So, Otto, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Otto. I have been coding for about a year and a half now. I am in 4th grade currently, and I'm 9 years old, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So me and Otto, what we've done, we've basically have been meeting online through Zoom because we're in different countries, different time zones. So over the last month and a half, we've had about 4 SonicPy workshops, something like that. So that equivalates to like maybe 3 to 4 hours of coding together and exploring the software together. So what we're going to show you and what Otto is going to explain to you is really the perspective of a learner. So we're going to let go of my perspective of an educator, and we're going to focus on his perspective as a young learner and what it's like to learn SonicPy and what he got out of it. You want to put it here for you, right?
We can do the questions.
Yes. Okay. So, Otto, can you tell everyone like how long you've been coding for?
I've been coding for a year and a half, partly Scratch, partly Python, and we've done some kits before, and that's all, I think.
Cool. What are you learning now? Are you learning something? You're going to coding school, right?
Yeah, I'm in a place called the Coder School. It's awesome. They go all around America, and basically they just teach you a bunch of different languages, taking you from where you're at and making you a whole lot better.
Amazing. So, what was your first impression of SonicPy? Like the first time that we've tried it together?
I thought it was cool, and I really like the idea that it's not like regular code, and instead of having to focus on more of the code, you can focus more on the music. And
What made the difference for you to like be able to focus more on the music?
like you just coding different things. So like this is more music. Other stuff would be more like games and other stuff like you talked about.
Yeah, cool. Do you want to show us, like, walk us through the first code that we wrote together?
Yeah. Is this it?
Yeah, that's the one.
So in the first session we had, I was
No, I'll hold it for you. Okay, it'll be easier. Go for it.
in the first session that we had, I was kind of just learning the basics, like how to do a regular live loop, samples, rates, RANs, which is basically just arrange, dot choose, do and end, and how to name stuff.
Mm-hmm. Can you explain a little bit like what it does? Because people don't know what a live loop is, for example.
So a live loop is like just what it says. It's a live loop of all the stuff you put in it. And basically I've named all of them kind of interesting names. You'll see in the next thing. I'll show you the other stuff. And in the samples, I was like going through all of them, finding some that I like, going through the perk bells, asking Mina what she recommends trying out.
Yep. So the first like workshop, it was a lot of just like trial and just see what it does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you feel like you could do like wrong stuff, or it was just more about like experimenting? There wasn't really anything.
It was more about experimenting and finding what I like and what I don't like and
Cool.
just trying it out.
Okay.
Should we play this?
Let's wait to play for like your final code.
Okay.
Yes. So then we moved on. So that was like the first introduction, like completely new. Like Otto had never heard about Sonic Pi or touched Sonic Pi. And already like we managed to cover a lot. And like these are not necessarily like such beginner concepts. And when you think about it, like this is really like the fundamentals of programming, and it's something that you can really transpose to anything that you code afterwards. So, you know, to me that's also interesting. It's like the transposable knowledge, right? So you learn stuff, but then it's also useful for applying it to other languages and other projects. So yeah. So that was your second workshop?
Yep, this is my second workshop.
And so do you want to walk us through a little bit like the ideas that you came up with?
So yeah, I came up with 2 ideas. I was only able to do one before we had to leave. The first one was getting all the sounds from my backyard and kind of making,
like recording
recording them and putting them into music. But that didn't work out, so I had the idea of making like band members. So we have like Tim, it's bells. Johnny is guitars. Jim is drums, sounds kind of like drums.
Yeah.
And that's what I tried to do. I tried to make the names sound like the instruments, except for Johnny.
Yeah, and you got that idea, I think, from understanding live loops, right?
Yeah.
From understanding that they were threading and they were like all playing at the same time, so they could each act like a different person.
Yeah, and that you could have multiple loops playing at the same time.
So then that evolved into...
Oh, my final one. Is this my final?
Yeah, and let me just put it bigger. There you go.
Okay, so here it's kind of like the final of the band. This is Welcome to the Rock Stars. We have Tim, my bell player. We have Johnny, the guitarist. We have Jim, the drummer. And then we have Davey, the bass drum player, which Mina told me that Davey is the name of a popular bass player.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So this is kind of, you know, a final idea that we came up with to create like a small band using the idea of loops and threads, which I think was really creative and really cool. So now what we're going to do is Otto's going to play you his final version of the code, and then we're going to do like a small 5 minutes demo where we're going to pair code and we're going to live code together. So we're going to exchange turns into changing something. Yes, sir. Thank you. And then after that, we'll be open for questions, and hopefully this is going to inspire you either trying this in a workshop context or even trying this with your kids at home and have fun pair coding with them, a little bit of beeps and music. Yep. Let's play. Thank you very much. That was Otto's first live coding performance, so seriously, this is a big deal.
Nice job, Otto.
So since Otto asked such great questions last year, maybe a few of you want to ask him some questions.
I want to know if this is your first talk, Otto.
You got the mic right there, bud? First talk?
Yeah, it is.
I want to know what your favorite language is, too.
JavaScript.
No, that's cheating.
What would you have said if I didn't say that?
Whatever I'm using right now, and that's Python.
Okay.
Question, yeah. Question there.
Could you explain to everyone where the sounds come from in the code?
Can you explain that, Otto?
Explain that.
Where the
What,
sounds
what
come
was the
from?
question again?
Where the
Where the
sounds come.
sounds come from.
It's like it has the RAND, you can see, like negative 2.2 to 3. That's controlling the sound, and it's just, you have it's making a range for how much you can do from there to there. It just is,
What are the samples? What is samples?
the samples is what the RAND will play. So the RAND is more like the pitch, and the samples are what the pitch will, or modify.
So you got one there called drum, bass, soft.
Yeah, it's a drum bass soft.
So it's a sample. So it's
Okay, I happen to know Sonic 5. My colleagues here were chatting to me while you were doing that, saying, where does the sound come from?
The speaker. The sound card.
The program has a
synths.
whole load of pre-recorded samples in it with
Yeah.
which you're manipulating
Yes.
with the code. So you can reverse them, stretch them, press
Yes.
them.
You can also make some of your own. You can record them, as I was talking about earlier.
Very clever.
Did you have any musical experience before? You said you've been coding for a year and a half. Do you play an instrument? Do you know?
You sing.
I can kind of do some weird instruments, like the automaton. Has anybody heard about that? It's a Japanese instrument that I found on a site called VAT19. They sell all crazy stuff.
He's not endorsed by them. But he probably should be with how much he buys from there.
Is that an annoying sounding instrument or is it a pleasant sounding instrument?
Depends on what you think is annoying and what you like.
I think it was your dad as a parent. Is it something you regret buying it?
It's not loud, but it is kind of an unusual sounding instrument, yeah. There's one over there.
What do you like about Sonic 5?
I like that you don't have to focus on more of the coding side. You can just focus on more of the music, and that you don't have to stop it to play to change something. You can just press like Command R after you make a change, or the play button again. And I think that's really good for live coding because you don't have to make any weird stops. And Any more questions?
Down here. Do you think this is something you could teach to your classmates at school?
I don't think they would let me download it on the computers, but maybe
But suppose they did.
probably if they were interested in it.
And so on that, what's the? Do you think that your classmates would be interested in this, or is there like? Do you need to be interested in computing and coding to get?
Probably some of them, but I only think it would be more interesting in them if they have had coding experience in the past and they want to get into coding.
Thanks.
Are you selling your EP on the sticker table?
No, that will cost $20 if you want it.
We're in the UK, so you gotta convert that to pounds. Quick, how much pounds is $20?
$1 billion. Thank you. Bye.